Hey Tracy, it's Paxton Barco. Last video. The date is April 26th, I think. Am I crazy? It's the 25th. I'm sorry. Um, anyway, this is the last video for you. I'm going to point out some structures I found during the dissection of my fetal pig for the reproductive system. Wow. And just so you know, I have a male pig, so I will do my best to point out a lot of different structures. So I'm going to tilt that down like that, hopefully keep enough light, try to stay away from here. Do my best to describe all these different structures too. So the first thing that I want to point out is the umbilical cord, which is right here. It's the umbilical cord. And then we have the urogenital opening, which is right beneath the umbilical cord. And it's like this little hole. I don't know if you can see that right there, but umbilical cord, urogenital opening right underneath it. The next thing I want to point out is the scrotal sac, which on the pig, so basically the scrotal sac are these two small skin-covered muscular sacs that extend from the body ventral to the tail. So the best thing I can explain is that when I started the dissection, I had to kind of feel down here for them, and I could feel these two little sacs, and those are the scrotal sacs. And the testes, which are right here, are located within the scrotum or the scrotal sacs. So let's talk about the testes. So like I pointed out, there are two testes. The testes are very important. They produce the hormones testosterone and inhibin, and they also produce sperm, which is obviously very important for the reproductive continuing of the pig. Let's see. Within the testes is this. Each testis has one, but it's called the epididymis, and it's this coiled tube that's attached to the scrotum. I can see it up close. I don't know if you'll be able, if I pull that open a little bit more, you'd see it, but I can feel it and I can see it on this one in particular. But the epididymis is this coiled tube that's attached to the testes, and it's the location where sperm continues to mature. Let's see what else. So this right here is the pig's penis, and that is the male organ of sexual intercourse. And in the pig, it's located beneath the skin, which is interesting. And the opening of the penis is the urogenital opening, which I pointed out earlier. So you can actually see, it's pretty cool to see how it all connects. You can see literally how it leads right up to that opening. Let's see. Okay, so the next thing I want to point out is something that's called the spermatic cord and the vas deferens, or the ductus deferens, excuse me. So the spermatic cord, let's start with that. The spermatic cord is this cord-like structure that's made up in part by the vas deferens. So the vas deferens is part of it. There's also connective tissue and blood vessels and nerves that run through this cord. And so like I was saying, that's going to run off. I kind of severed it, unfortunately. It's hanging in there, but you can actually see where a few of the blood vessels maybe would have been. So that's going to run off. And like I mentioned, the vas deferens, also called the ductus deferens, is part of the spermatic cord. And the vas deferens is a thick muscular tube that's going to connect the testes to the urethra. So that's just an interesting fact about the spermatic cord and the vas deferens, which is part of what makes up the spermatic cord. Next thing I want to show or just point out is that this is the urinary bladder right here. And obviously from the urinary bladder, urine is going to be carried down through the urethra, which in the pig's case runs, so basically if you can imagine that the urinary bladder keeps running down this way, down there, it's going to connect to the penis right here. So the urethra is literally going to run through the penis. And then urine is going to pass out of the body at the urogenital opening, if that makes sense. Okay, the last thing I want to point out, which I actually think I just found as I was pointing out that thing. I might not be able to show you perfectly in the video, but at the base of the bladder is something called the prostate gland. And I may have accidentally removed it, or I might be seeing it right here as this little kind of bulb at the bottom of the bladder, the base of it. But basically the prostate gland is really important because it secretes this alkaline milky fluid that's going to add to semen. And essentially what this fluid helps do within the semen is that it's going to coagulate and then decoagulate after ejaculation. So that's going to help with the process of transferring sperm into the body so that it can fertilize an egg within the female's body. All right, so I think that's everything. We have the testes, we have the epididymis within it, we have the scrotal sacs, we have the umbilical cord, we have the urogenital opening, which the penis and the urethra, which one's inside the penis, are going to, that's going to be their opening. We have the bladder, the prostate gland, which sits at the base of the bladder, and then we have the spermatic cord, which runs from both of the testes, and within the spermatic cord is the vas deferens, which is going to connect the testes, both testes, to the urethra. All right, so I think that should be everything. Hopefully I've done a good job of explaining everything, and I look forward to your feedback. Thanks so much, Tracy. I've really enjoyed getting to know you and for all of your guidance and help in this class. Thanks.